Hi again. So once you have created an account in OnShape, it will take you, and you get logged into OnShape, it'll take you to a place that looks like this. Now, you won't have all of these drawings here because these are already things that I've created. So yours will all be blank here. But the first thing I want you to do is just over on the left-hand side, click on Create. And you're going to create a new document. We have to give this document a title. So this is where the drawing name would be put in. For this one, I'm just going to put in tutorial because I want you to just see what it is that I'm talking about, the website, the software. I just want to show you what this is all about. So I'm just going to put in tutorial. We're going to create a public document. Oops, I guess I haven't logged in yet. So let me log in. Okay, so I'm going to create document, tutorial. Okay, so let me talk to you a little bit about what everything is here. So this is our drawing area down here, and you can see there are 3 planes that we can work in. We can work in the front plane, the top plane, and the right side plane. Not quite sure what this little thing is here. And we have those same planes over here in this view. I can change and look at different views according to this little box over here. Up at the top, here is a set of toolbars. It's a toolbar with a set of tools up here. On the left over here is our parts tree. And this will grow as we start drawing things. The parts tree will grow. And down here at the bottom are the different drawings that we have open. And so I want to show you how it is that we're going to be drawing in this software. This software is a 3-dimensional software where we're going to be drawing, making parts. I don't know what this is. Hopefully you can't see that. It says, please move this window away from, I don't know what it is. Anyways. So we have to determine, first of all, what view we're going to be working in. So if I work in the front view, that means I am going to take the front view of an object and work from front to back. If I pick the top view of an object, I'm going to start from looking down on top of an object, and I'm going to work from the bottom up. If I choose the right side view, that means I'm going to look at the side and work back from the side of it. So it all depends on how you want to look at an object. For this first view, I'm going to choose the top view. And I'm going to say I want to look directly at the top view. So I'm going to click on this top view over here and notice that it will turn the page towards me and show me the top view square like that. Now, there are some steps that we have to take to create everything that we do. We have to take some certain steps to create it. So the first step that we do is choose the plane that we're working on. And that's exactly what I just did. I chose the top plane. So I'm going to write this down and show you when I'm done with this little tutorial, these different steps that we have to take. So the first step, number 1, is to select a plane. Select a plane to work in. Okay. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to create a sketch in this plane. So I'm going to click on the sketch command. So that's going to be number 2, create a sketch. I'm going to click on sketch, and notice my toolbar has changed now. Now I've got all these different sketching tools. So I'm going to create just a rectangle. So I'm going to click on rectangle. I'm going to start at the origin. That's this dot right here. And I'm simply going to pull out a a rectangle. Now notice oops, sorry, escape there. If I click on the edges of this rectangle, I can move the rectangle. I can grab the corner of it, I can move it. It's blue, and what that means is that the rectangle has not been defined yet. We haven't told it any of the sizes of this rectangle. So right now it's movable, it's changeable. And what I want to do is I want to make it so that it's not changeable. I want to give it some dimensions. So I'm going to click on the dimension toolbar up here. And I'm going to say that this line, by simply clicking on it, dragging a measure up, I'm going to make this 3 inches long. So 3, enter. And now notice the length of this is now 3. It's black. It can't be changed. I can still change the height of this. If I hit escape and click on this, I can still drag it up and down because I haven't established how tall this rectangle is yet. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to click dimension, click on this edge, and I'm going to say that this dimension is going to be 2. So I've got a 3 inch by 2 inch rectangle. Now if I try to move this, I can't because it's fully defined now. Notice that it's black in color. It has been defined. So I'm done with my sketch. This is sketch number 1. I check mark that I'm done with my sketch. And notice over here in the parts tree, it tells us, all right, you have a sketch now. And if I click on this sketch, notice that it highlights this sketch. That is my sketch number 1. Now I need to give this sketch some thickness. If I choose up here, I can turn this sketch around. I mean, I can choose the box up here that allows me to change the angle. I can use the roller wheel and I can zoom in and out. If I push down the roller ball or the roller wheel, I can pan. And if I push down the right mouse key, I can pivot around. So what I want to do is I want to give this sketch some depth now. So I'm going to click on it, which also highlights it here, and I'm going to go up to the extrude tool up here, click on it, and it's a solid. I want to give it, the first time that you do anything to it, you want to do it, it'll highlight it, or it'll default at new, and we can give it a depth as to how deep we make this thing. Or if I don't really care, I could grab the handle and or grab the arrow and I could move it up or down to create this 3D part. But if I know the size that I want to make this, like I'm going to make it 1 inch, so I'm simply going to type in 1 and then enter, and then check mark that I'm done. You'll now see that I have a 1 inch by 3 inch by 2 inch block, solid block that I've created. All right, and you'll notice here in my parts tree that I have a sketch. This, if I click on it, this is my original sketch. And if I click on the extrude, this is what I've extruded from that original sketch. Very good. So the steps that I had to take were, number 1, I selected the plane, and in my case, I selected the top plane. Number 2, I created a sketch. The third step was I dimensioned the sketch. The fourth thing I did was I check marked that I exited the sketch. So I'm going to write down exit sketch with a check mark. And the fifth thing I did was I chose a feature, one of these tools up here. I chose the feature, so that was step number 5. I chose a feature, and my feature that I chose was to extrude. Step number 6 was to finish the feature by check marking. So step number 6 was to finish the feature with a check mark. And that was it for creating this box. So I'm going to do those 6 steps every time I want to create something, either by adding to or subtracting from this box that I've made. I'm going to use those 6 steps. Step number 1, select a plane. Step number 2, well, I'm just going to show you. Let me show you the steps that I've written down. And let me see if I can get this going. Okay, so here are the steps for drawing things. Number 1, I selected the plane that I was going to work on, front, top, or right side view. I created a sketch. Step number 3 was to dimension the sketch. Step number 4 was to exit the sketch with a green check mark. Step 5 was to choose the feature, and I chose extrude. Step number 6 was to finish this feature with a check mark. You're going to need to know those 6 steps. In fact, we're going to have a quiz on those. There is a quiz coming. All right, so you're going to need to write these down so that you can do well on that quiz. All right, so let me stop share on that. Let me go back to my tutorial. All right, hopefully you can see the tutorial now. So now I'm going to go through those 6 steps by putting a new piece on this block. Let's say I want to cut a hole. Actually, let's say I want to cut a rectangle out of, I want to make this into stair steps. Instead of it being a block, I want a stair step cut out of it. So what I'm going to do is this time, instead of selecting a plane from here, I'm going to select a surface. So let's say I want to work on this surface that is on the front view. Zoom in a little bit. That was step number 1. Step number 2 is to create a sketch. All right, so let me click on sketch and create a sketch. And I'm going to drag out a sketch like that rectangle. I want to, step number 3 is to dimension the sketch. So I'm going to click on dimension of this piece right here. I'm going to make it 1.5. This side right here, I'm going to make it at 0.5. That's done with the dimensioning. Notice it's all black, so it's fully defined. I check mark that I am done with the sketch. That's step number 4. Step number 5 is to choose the feature. So I'm going to highlight the sketch, or here, one of the two. I'll choose it here. I'm going to highlight the feature, which is extrude. Now this time I'm going to remove something. I'm not going to add something. I'm going to remove something. I'm going to remove this feature. And it asked me, what depth do I want to remove it at? Well, if I take a look right now, its default is 1 inch. So right now it says you want to delete it 1 inch. No, I don't. I want to go all the way through my entire object. So instead of the blind feature here, I'm just saying I want to cut it through all. And notice that it'll take the entire piece off. Check mark, that would be the end of the feature. And I am done with that. So that would be step number 6. All right. Let me try that again. Let's say I want to cut a hole, a circle in this side right here. Step number 1, select the plane or the surface. This is on the top, so I'm going to click on top. Step number 2, create a sketch. So let me go up to sketch. I'm going to create a circle this time. Put it right here. Step number 3, dimension the sketch. If I click on the circle itself, it asks for, what is the diameter? Well, I want the diameter to be, let's say 0.75. Now I need to tell where the circle is located. How far is it down from this side? How far is it over from this side? So to do that, I click on the top edge. I click on the center of the circle, and I say, okay, I'm going to bring this dimension over here. I want it to be 1 inch down. So that takes the center of the circle 1 inch down from the top. And I want to know how far to go over. So I click on this line, and I click on the center of the circle. And how far do I want to go over? I'm going to go 0.75 over. So I took that to that location. Now notice it's black, it's fully defined. If I was going to drill this hole, I would know how far to come down, how far to go over, and I know the size of it, the diameter of it. So that was step number 3. Step number 4 is to exit the sketch with a check mark. Step number 5 is to choose the feature. What am I going to do with this hole? I'm going to highlight the hole, and I'm going to choose the feature. And I am going to remove. So I'm going to cut a hole in this. I'm going to remove. And how far am I going to go through? I'm going to go through all. And so that was step number 5. I chose the feature of removing something. Check mark with finishing up the feature. And notice that gives me the hole that goes all the way through. Right? The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to, let's say I put a feature here on top. I take, instead of it being a hole, I'm going to put something on top of this. So let's try that. Let's select this feature, step 1, or select this surface, step 1. Let me look at the top view. Step 2 is to create a sketch. I'm going to create a circle. Step 3 is to dimension the circle. So I'm going to say that this is the same size. This is a 0.75. Enter. And I want it to be in the same location. So from the top to the center is going to be 1. From the side to the center is going to be 0.75. Okay, it's black. It's totally defined. Step number 4 is to exit the sketch with a check mark. Step number 5 is to choose the feature. So I'm going to select this and choose that I want to extrude. So this time I'm going to add something. Instead of cutting it away, I'm going to add something to it. And how much do I want to add? Do I just want to grab this and drag it, or do I want to give it a dimension? Well, this we cut out 1 inch, so why don't I add 1 inch here? So I'm going to type in 1, check mark, and you can see that I've added something there. Okay, that's the general way to just add something or subtract something, is to go through those 6 steps of how to add and subtract features, parts, pieces from the OnShape software. Hopefully that was helpful. And as I was saying earlier, we will receive, or you will receive, a quiz on this, and we're also going to have an assignment where we're going to have to create something similar to what I've just created. Okay. So let me get into